earlier story, the British Chamber of Commerce Philippines lauding Malacanang's decision to extend the reduction in tariffs on some agricultural products. Joining us this morning, BCCP Executive Director Chris Nelson. Hi, Chris. Good to see you. Thank you for joining us now in Manila, same time zone.
Yeah, good morning, and good morning to all your viewers, and advance Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to everyone.
Oh, same to you. So, Chris, let's talk about this measure. The measure, which is Executive Order 171, is supposed to help Filipinos deal with soaring inflation, but there was a local agri-producers group that said the measure has actually not helped because despite the lower tariffs, the prices of these goods actually stayed high. For rice, for example, imported rice remained at around 42 despite the tariff cuts last year, while local price still sold cheaper, 30 to 40. What do you say to that?
Well, let me focus on pork, because obviously that's the interest of the UK suppliers. That has certainly helped in terms of inflation and food security. That's backed up today by the Department of Agriculture. I think the key here is, particularly on pork, is unofficially 50% of the pig herds domestically have been impacted by the African swine flu. That takes a long time to regrow and regenerate those herds. And I think what British Pork and other suppliers coming into the country is doing is helping, stabilize prices, helping obviously, therefore, with the inflation. But also, let's not forget, you have a very active and vibrant meat processing sector here. And that's also providing key jobs and work. So what we see, particularly with this one, is a win-win, and we see further growth for and longer-term business for UK pork suppliers and meat suppliers to their Filipino counterparts.
But Chris, is the win big enough to offset the loss in tariffs, for example? Because there are estimates the lower or the cut in tariffs for pork meant a 10 billion peso loss of taxes or collections that the government could have made. Do you think the wins are big enough to offset that?
Yes, I think it does. I mean, first of all, of course, inflation is one of the key issues. The second is, I've just mentioned, is that the meat processing sector is a key segment, actually, for the sector here. So that provides work and opportunities. And I think this is also part of the strategy. If you look at what the support given to these measures by people like the Foundation for Economic Freedom, from others as well, it all discusses about food security and inflation. And this has been developed over time, Mimi. I mean, obviously, the growth in British exports of pork, particularly at meat as well, has been going on throughout 2021 and now into 2022. And we see those opportunities for both sides and an assistance in 2023. So yes, it will offset that.
And so for this particular Christmas, will Filipinos have enough affordable pork in the Noche Buena, in the feasts that we're partaking?
Well, I certainly hope so. I mean, on behalf of the British exporters, we continue to grow. I just heard yesterday, I was in touch with the Agricultural Horticultural Development Board, AHDB, who has been leading the trade missions here. And sales for October were 2,300 tons. That brings us up now to over 30,000 tons for the year. And obviously there are other suppliers coming into the market as well. So certainly you can expect to see good UK quality pork, traceable pork, which will be in the marketplace, and obviously a great support to the Philippines. And we obviously wish everybody a very happy holiday and enjoyment of British pork and meat.
So you did mention astonishing growth numbers, pork imports from the UK jumping 41% to 238,000 metric tons in the first 9 months of this year. What kind of growth are you seeing for next year, for 2023?
Well, look, if you take it in 2021, growth was up 200%. Obviously, now with a higher base. For this year, for the first 9 months, we're up 41%. Obviously, we see growth continuing throughout next year. I mean, obviously, you're looking between 20 to 30% because obviously the base has gone higher. More importantly, I think, maybe this is a reflection of just the overall dynamics of how the UK and the Philippines trade is continuing to grow. As mentioned by our ambassador, Lobo Feast, the UK-Philippine trade has now got back to £2 billion. And overall, we see that continue to grow, and relations between the two countries is very strong. And we're looking to see that growing, not just obviously for beef and pork, but obviously all the areas that we as a chamber have been promoting in terms of obviously food products, but of course, so there's a lot of interest in the UK in terms of renewables and so forth. So we see this as one part, but overall, significant growth in terms of pork and meat. I would anticipate between 20 to 30%, again, on a much higher base.
Oh, that's good enough. You know, Chris, I was looking at some interesting stories about UK pork in the Philippines. I found one. It's a story by Bloomberg, and here's the interesting angle. One of the UK's biggest pork producers, Cranswick, is spending some $5 million to hire butchers from the Philippines after a staffing crisis threatened to hamper production. So this is how we see a reversal of roles where the Philippines becomes the supplier, but supplier of talent still in the pork industry. Very curious, when you look ahead to 2023, any other opportunities for Filipinos looking maybe to find work in the UK?
Well, like, Philippine talent is always highly regarded. I was on your program before, and we have to obviously always give our sincere thanks to the Filipino workers in our health sector who were such a great support. In fact, it was a Filipino nurse who gave the very first COVID injection.
I remember her. Correct.
So congratulations to everybody. I think there's a lot of opportunities. The UK will always need skilled workers, and the Philippines is a great talent base.
All right. And on that note, Chris, thank you so much for joining us and for the work that you do. We look forward to a more productive and even more prosperous 2023 with you. Thank you, and see you next year.
Happy holidays, and I wore my Christmas tie for you.
Oh,
So
I knew you had some
holidays.
Christmas going on there. Thank you, Chris. See you soon.
Happy holidays to everybody. Thank you very much, Mimi, and to you and everybody and your viewers.
All right. Thank you.